Can you have chickens? Can you build a shop? Can you park your boat and your RV? Can you add a guest house? These are all issues that people who buy homes on an acre or more are typically dealing with. And we're going to show you the best practice right now. When you're buying or selling a home on an acre or more, the deed restrictions are very important. As a matter of fact, you need to read the deed restrictions if you have questions. Number one, if you ask your agent and they get verbal information and it's wrong, that does you no good later. You need to be aware of what the deed restrictions say regarding whatever aspect you're thinking about using for your property. Now, one of the biggest questions we get is, can you have chickens? Now, we have no doubt that there are areas where you're not supposed to have chickens where people do have chickens, but that's entirely up to you. That's a decision you need to make about whether you're willing to violate deed restrictions and then quit violating them if you're forced to. Now, that might be easier with chickens, for example, than if you have a business. Can you run a business? Typically, deed restrictions, if there are deed restrictions, may say that you cannot run a business. But your agent might say, well, there are businesses on the street. That's all well and good. But are you willing to risk your business by moving into an area where the deed restrictions don't allow businesses? If you want to take that risk, put those deed restrictions in front of an attorney. I'm sorry, but a real estate agent is not an attorney. That's something you need to be very aware of. What do the deed restrictions say and what can you use the property for? Can you build a guest house? Can you build a shop? Can you park your boat in an RV? Those are areas and actually some of the biggest reasons people buy homes on an acre or more. So be absolutely sure that you understand the deed restrictions. I would actually read them if I were you. I would not take verbal information when it comes to deed restrictions. Now, there's another area you need to be familiar with as well, and that's Homeowners Association restrictions and guidelines, covenants. Bottom line is that even if it's not in the deed restrictions, it might be in the HOA. So you need to be aware of what the HOA has to say about it as well. There are 1 acre plus areas that are highly restricted. As a matter of fact, more restricted than some very nice subdivisions. But there are others that have very few restrictions. You need to be aware of that. I'm going to tell you that the only time you can be absolutely certain that you can do whatever you want is when there are no restrictions. But if you want to enter into a situation like that, just be aware that your neighbor has no restrictions either. And that's fine for some people. We do have most of the HOA and the deed restrictions on file for 1 acre plus areas. If you're curious, just shoot us a text, email, voicemail, whatever you'd like, and say, hey, we want to do this with this property. Do you have those deed restrictions handy? And we actually have most of them on file, so we could send them to you so you could check for yourself. If not, we know how to get them, and we'd be happy to retrieve them for you. So just remember, when buying a home on an acre or more, and you have specific reasons for doing that, make sure that you are able to do that. Doesn't matter whether it's just something as simple as chickens or goats, building a workshop, parking your boat, your RV, whatever the case is, even if someone else is doing it, that doesn't mean it's okay. You need to make sure you're aware of what the deed restrictions say and if the deed restrictions are active and legal. Hope this makes sense. So remember what I said before, you can contact us if you'd like deed restrictions on any area or homeowners restrictions on any area. We probably have them on file. Look at my information below, call, text, or email. And you can also look at this video right here that shows you the costs involved in buying a home on an acre or more and what you very much need to be aware of. Hope to see you on that video.